Welcome to the Capitol. We are here, of course, with Representative Danny Morgan. Danny, first of all, thanks for taking time because I know this has been a hotly contested day.
The last 48 to 72 hours have just been an absolute whirlwind here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, Danny. You are the minority leader over on the House side. You're embroiled in a lot of battles.
We are, and this is one of those deadline weeks we always talk about. The first couple of weeks we kind of just pitter around, puddle, do some committee work, but these 3 days that we're just completing, we have to have all House bills voted on and out of our chamber by 5 o'clock on that Thursday, or whenever we shut down on Thursday. If they're not heard this week, then they're not going to be able to be heard until next year.
Danny, it's been a hotly contested week, all week long, because of those deadlines that you mentioned. There are some big concerns, I know, on your side of the aisle. Let's start with those. What's concerning you most?
Well, one of the things that we did not get to have a hearing on in the legislature this year was a bill that would have allowed all of the premium monies that kids, because we just finished up our local county shows, and the FFA and 4-H, where these kids are out really doing the right thing and trying to learn the lessons that we want them to learn that they can carry into adulthood. And we had a bill out here that would have exempted all of the monies that they received at the premium sales to be tax exempt. If you have a very successful animal, you can receive some very nice rewards for your efforts. And what we wanted to do is classify any money that a student received at a premium sale to be considered scholarship money, and there would be no taxes on it. Okay. Because if you get a large enough award, you can pay income tax against that earnings that you received. And our attitude is it punishes those kids, and we really wanted to try to exempt that this year, and we weren't able to do that.
Well, as an adult, I'd love to be have some of that going our way too. And maybe we're just training the kids early that you really can't get away from death or taxes. But it's a great idea. And what was the thought against that idea? Why didn't it pass?
Well, what we were told is we just ran out of time. To me, priorities is what time's all about. And so I never was really comfortable with the answer that we were given as well. We just ran out of time and couldn't get to it. And that bothers me because these kids are doing what we're really wanting. Now, that's the kind of kids that you really see to come out and do well in the world.
And so in a typical premium sale, let's say one of your animals brings $5,000. What you're saying is that puts you over a threshold, and you're going to have to give some of that to Uncle Sam.
Yes, and I'm not sure exactly where the threshold lines are, but that's the percentage behind, or the process that we work from is those should be awards that those kids worked hard to get, and so that was a benefit they received for that hard work, and let's let them keep those earnings and roll them into next year's project animal, or instead of paying taxes on it, let's consider that a scholarship so that they can start down that either to a college career or into adulthood with that positive feeling instead of that, oh my, look what we paid. But again, that's one of those life lessons we all have to learn. If it's in your paycheck, you're going to get to pay Uncle Sam for it.
Yeah, and you know, we make light of that, but that's truly, services have to be paid for, and that's one of those things. So unfortunate, but again, possibly next year. What else this term has you concerned?
Well, a bill that passed out of the House also that I really debated strongly against and I had strong feelings on is a bill that would make an employer in Oklahoma guilty of a third-degree misdemeanor up to a $1,000 fine and 90 days in jail if they asked a potential employee their opinion about gun ownership or if they owned a gun. And so when I talked to the author about that, I said, surely there's some exemptions in this bill. Let's say, for example, I own a security company. Obviously, most security guards, you'd like to have them be trained in use of firearms and carry their own firearm in many occasions. And so I said, so I'm the owner of a security company, and I asked the potential employee of mine, do you own your own firearm that you can wear when you're on duty so I don't have to, come up with the money to buy a particular firearm? And if I've asked that question, he said, I have violated the law. And you got a lot of small employers across Oklahoma who may end up not knowingly violate the law and become a third-degree misdemeanor. And that to me scares me when we start manipulating and making the guy on the corner become a misdemeanor offender.
Yeah, that's concerning to me as a small business owner. And those are the types of things that get written into law and really get passed over. You may not even know for years that you're breaking the law.
Well, and one of the points that I made to my colleagues, even though I wasn't successful defeating the bill, was that, if you've got a large HR division where you have a human resources person who works with these rules and laws and all every day, you probably are going to be aware of that. But if you're just a small employer on the corner who doesn't keep track of what we do in this building, unfortunately, ignorance of the law does not excuse you from the violation. And that's the ones I'm most concerned about with, is those small businesses that we really have to keep in main streets in the communities that we live in, from Shawnee to Prague to those that I represent. And that concerns me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty concerning. What about some things that may excite you? Did anything come through this time in the session that you're excited about and you really are looking forward to it coming law?
Well, one that I was very interested in that passed that helps our retired disabled troopers, for example. We've identified about 75 members, former members of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, to give them a property tax exemption if they're disabled. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to continue to do to help those who have served us, who've put themselves out there. And I know they're never paid a lot when they're on duty as an active duty member of the OHP. But those individuals who have been disabled in the line of duty is just one more thing we can do to help them. And so we've had several issues very similar to that where we're trying to help, because in a budget year like this that our revenues are down, it's very difficult sometimes to do pay raises for those who really need the pay raises. But we want to try to help in small circles where we can. And another thing that I'm excited about is we're really trying to move forward the compressed natural gas for the fueling of our vehicles, helping incentivize people to either buy or convert a vehicle, and also for entrepreneurs who need a little bit of help to give them incentive to go put in fuel stations for CNG. Yeah. So that you have access. I said, we can have all the CNG vehicles, compressed natural gas vehicles in the world, but if you can't stop and fill one up very often, it makes it difficult. So those are the things that will help us not only environmentally, but it'll help with our overall energy picture. And so there are a few things like that we're seeing go through the legislature.
That sounds great. I know not too long ago I looked at a CNG vehicle, and the biggest drawback was I didn't know how far across the state I could get, or if I went out of state where I would actually be able to fill up. That really is a hindrance. So that's a great thing, but even better, trying to help our highway patrol, and just wonderful. And you have to know that if you want change, you can invoke change through your emails and through your phone calls to the legislators. Immediately following this video, you're going to see the phone number that you can call and just tell them where you live, and they'll patch you through to your local legislator if you don't know who that is. But Danny, as few as 5, 6, 7 local emails or phone calls really can make a difference.
Oh, I tell you, one makes a difference. Last week I authored a bill that didn't make it out of committee again, or at least on the floor for hearing, and that was to add small businesses to the no-call list. Your private phone number is protected from being called by, telemarketers, and I thought this was a constituent-driven issue. A businessman in my community called and said, I'm getting tired of unsolicited fax coming over my fax machine and unsolicited sales calls coming over my phone. Can't I add my phone to the do not call list? And I thought it was an outstanding idea. But what I found is there's a little more complication than just on the surface. But we're going to continue to work on that and see if we can't make that happen next year.
And how about wine country? Any good news for the wine guys? You have so many, man. You are embattled.
Always working on our wine guys. The one bill that we did have that dealt with some tasting rooms, it needs to continue to be worked on. So we're going to hold it over for this year and work through the summer on it and hopefully bring it out next year again. But we got to get the ideas on the table, get an opportunity to talk about them, and continue to move these things down the line. Because what I've learned out here is you have to have patience.
Yeah, so true. Patience, makes for great wine is how I look at that.
Exactly right.
Danny Morgan, thank you, as always, for talking with us, man.
Thanks.